Hey guys, Kevin Shaw here, editor-in-chief of Mopar Connection Magazine. At the time of this recording, we've got just a couple weeks left before the 2024 Hot Rod Power Tour. And originally the plan was for this year to have our 70 Plymouth Fury Marcia ready. Unfortunately, we are still doing all the paint prep and we haven't even shot color yet. So best laid plans, you got to go to plan B. And plan B is that we're going to take a swing at bringing our 69 Dodge Charger, what we call Brazen, take the Brazen Charger out on Power Tour this year. So obviously, a lot of you guys picked up on the fact that we just put in a Tremec TKX 5-speed. That has totally changed how this car drives. It's really been great. It's hard to believe that I've re-fallen in love with this car again, but I totally have. So with that 0.68 to 1 overdrive ratio, highway driving, high-speed driving, 75 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour on the freeway, super easy. Car just cruises. It's ridiculous. And we've got 410 gears on a Yukon Grizzly locker. And with our Mickey Thompson 295 65 15s, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's doing 2,200 RPM. It's cruising along. And we're going to do a lot of fuel calculations on Power Tour. But I'm telling you right now, for being a high 10-second car, it cruises like a new car. It's hilarious. So anyway, we've got a little bit of a checklist, a little bit of a prep list to do today. We got quite a few things that we got to do. And in fact, I got my little post-it note here, and I'm going to go over everything that we got planned for the Charger. All right. Number one, we got to top off coolant, make sure that our Evans Waterless coolant is all good and looking pretty. We got to do an oil change. We got about 2 gallons of VR1 Valvoline. We're certainly not going to use all that, but we got plenty of oil for our oil change. We need to gap all of our new spark plugs. We got brand new plugs. We're going to go over that. Brand new NGKs. We're going to go to a hotter plug. And the next step with that is that we've got some really cool new plug wires that, according to all the data that they're sending me, are supposed to be some of the best 8.5 millimeter plug wires that you can get. They are really, really impressive and low resistance. So we're going to show you that in just a little bit. We got to go through, torque all the lug nuts. But before we torque all the lug nuts, we are going to mount our new tires. Actually, we've already done that, and I'll just show you what we've mounted. The same thing we've had before, which are ET Street SS's. We are going to take our front runners off, get them rebalanced just to make sure that everything is fine. To be honest, we get a little bit of a wobble, and it's very intermittent, so I want to put that on a balancer and have those looked at. Then we check the air on all the tires. That's kind of a basic. Torque all the lug nuts, obviously. We are going to adjust all of our Caltrac bars. That's something that, quite frankly, we haven't gone into detail on you guys who have Caltrac bars, how to properly adjust them. This is not a track adjustment. Track adjustment is a little bit more detailed and a little bit more in-depth, especially when it comes to how you're airing down your tires, what kind of tires you're running, what's your rear gear, what's your pinion doing. So this is really just going to be a tighten up for driving. Next, we're going to top off our gear oil, make sure the gear oil looks good. We are going to change out the transmission fluid that is in our Tremec. You guys who watched earlier, you saw that we just put standard ATF, I think -4, in our Tremec. We've already racked up over 250 miles. They recommend between 200 and 500 miles. I figure we're safe. So we're going to upgrade to Valvoline Synchromesh, and we'll do that. The last thing we're going to do is, I've had a set of double adjustable rear shocks from QA1. I was running them for years, and they were fantastic, but I was running them with a pinion snubber. When I went to Caltracs, I started to use the single adjustable Caltrac shocks. They're really aggressive. They are a drag racing, pretty much drag racing only shock. I'm going to be doing over 1,000 miles of driving on Power Tour, so it's probably best to go to a more flexible shock, one that has a lot more of a smoother rebound, one that would be more akin to long distance driving. So we're going to be doing that. That is today's list. We're going to get into it. So hang on tight. We got a lot of work to do. Hey guys, real quick, we got a whole mess of new Mopar Connection Magazine T-shirts for sale. They're up here at the Mopar Connection store. We're going to put the link up in the corner, and we have some really cool designs. The first one is my favorite, and this is called the Order of the Big Block. And as you can see, you're getting the full rotation of the big block firing order right here on your back. And in case you forget, you can have your buddy turn around, and you can set your firing order the right way and not mess up. Second, we've got the What Does Mopar Mean to You? And it's a whole script of different definitions that have been some of the most popular ones that we've seen over the years. It's not all of them, but it's a snapshot of some of the best ones. So show your loyalty to Mopar by wearing it loud and proud. Grab yours at the store today. We'll put the link up in the corner. Okay, so number one, let's pop the hood. We're going to show you what we're working with. We've got about 4,000 miles on this oil change, and this dipstick I've never really been a fan of, but you can see, let's let the camera focus. Our oil is pretty carboned up, and that really is just carbon. That's a lot of just unspent fuel. It is not great, and that is why we're running the vacuum pump. I do believe I have 2 hot cylinders, and that just means that ring gap is not great. And the right thing to do would be to obviously pull the pistons and re-ring the pistons. But since we are working on that Cali's Hemi, that's going to be this winter's project for the Charger, is building a 572 Hemi. I figured I can keep the 535 rolling with no problem, and we'll be fine. I will show you reason we're going to do plug wires. We've got some aging. We've got quite a few of these. These tailors have been really good, but they've just been through a lot of wear and tear, and we've got cracks and splits quite a few places. So we are going to change out our plug wires with these really cool plug wires, and I'm going to show you. These came in. This is actually a sibling to Flexolite, is their SQR brand, and believe it or not, these guys are reporting some serious performance gains from their new plug wires. So we're going to check them out. It actually comes with a really cool tool that we're going to use, and we're going to upgrade. We got two kits because we needed some 90s, and we certainly needed some straight boots, and because of that, we just had to mix and match. We do have our new NGKs, and we have been running the BK R5EY 5. Now, if you guys don't know, NGK goes backwards. The lower the number, the hotter it gets. I know that sounds confusing because you go to a champion and you want to go up, your number goes up. But when it comes to NGK, you got to run if you want to run hot, you got to go to a lower number. So we were running 6s for a long time. Then we moved over to the 5s. We moved to the 5s, actually the 5EYs. We moved to these 5s, I want to say about 3 years ago. And they've been really good, but we're still running really rich, and I'm just getting a lot of carbon. And I'm not fouling the plugs out, but I know we can run a little cleaner. So I've already gapped these to 42. In fact, let's take a second. Yeah, all the plugs have already been pre-gapped. I went through and I ran them out to about 43 to 44. In fact, I was really aiming for 45. So I'm going to bring these up to about 45, and then we're going to run them a little bit hot. We're going to see if that cleans up a little bit of our ignition. And if that does, and we're not running so rich, then we'll keep it. But if we find that we're getting a little bit of a lean condition, I'll pull them back out and run them at 40, and we should be good. Especially because if we're getting a really good increased spark from these new plug wires, that might be, that just might be the ticket. But as far as spark plugs go, these are what we are running, are the BKR5EY, and the part number is a 7390. So this is our choice with the Hughes cut Edelbrock heads. But what we need to do first is get the car a little bit in the air. We're going to pull the front runners off. We're going to start draining the oil, let all the oil drain out. It's not hot. I haven't even fired the car yet. But because I'm putting the car in the air all the way around so that we can put the new Mickey Thompsons on the back, so we can adjust the Caltracs, and that I can obviously drain the oil and have the front runners all balanced. The car's got to be in the air for most of today. I like that they're lightweight. Whew. It's no fun. Steel wheels are no fun. Look good. Boy, they weigh a lot. Come on, you. Get out. That is not pretty. There's a lot of gas and a lot of carbon in that oil. It's just not terribly happy. Here we go. All right. Yeah, a little bit of schmutz. Nothing too crazy, but I still don't like seeing any. So I just pulled the absolutely pain in the butt oil filter off, and now we'll just tighten up our drain pan and throw in some VR1. Nice. Should be 7 quarts. If not just a hair less than 7 quarts. So we'll put in 6 and we'll check our level once the car's leveled out and back on its tires. Okay, so I've been using Valvoline VR1, it's 2050, and I've been using this for, I want to say at least 10 years. The nice thing is that it has a whole mess of zinc, and it's one of the few that you can get off the shelf. That's not some super expensive race, super trick, one-off oil. You can find this darn near anywhere, any O'Reilly's, any Advance, even Walmart. So I've been running VR1. It's been great. I maintain about 45 pounds of oil pressure. I know that sounds low to a lot of Mopar guys, but I am also running a vacuum pump. And that vacuum pump produces a lot of negative atmosphere. So that is probably drawing about 10 to 15 PSI off of my oil pressure sender. So let's pour this 5 quarts in. We're going to throw another quart in, then we're going to check our levels, because I've been typically running at 6, and we'll see if that is tall enough. It should be. It should be about 6 to 6.5. All right, we are just a hair over where we want to be. So we're a little high, but that's all right. We got a new filter on. It obviously needs to be filled up, and you know, we let the engine drain for about 3 hours, so we don't have the oil up in the valve train, we don't have it in the lifters, so this is good. All right, so we're in good shape. We're all full of VR1, so now we can swap out our QA1 shocks, and then we'll keep going down our list. So I'm going to bring a few lights over so that we can talk a little bit about how the CalTrak works and how to adjust the CalTrak bar. So let me scoot in. What happens is that this pin, we have this whole shackle here that articulates. This pin offers preload. Let me get behind it. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm gonna, there it is. Okay, so it's putting preload on the spring. And what that is going to do is that's going to keep the front of the spring from wrapping, all right? Wrapping or binding up. So what we want is we want that pin to make contact, and then we're going to adjust preload on this bar so that we're able to have just a good baseline setting for our CalTrak. Calvert does give you these wrenches. These wrenches are specific to the hardware. You're going to want to use these. So let me back up the camera. We're going to back these guys off, and we're going to go. I've already broken them loose because they're tough suckers. So we already have play here. You do not want play at all, okay? The idea is to not have play when the car is on the ground or on its suspension. Now, obviously, we have it not hanging. It's not suspended off of the body. We're suspended off the differential. So this is replicating what it would be like on the ground. So let's break. We're going to pop these guys loose. We're going to back all the way out just to give ourselves plenty of room. Now let's go to the inside. I'm going to show you what we are working with on the inside. Okay, so then come in here. We've already broken these loose, so you back them off, and what we're doing here is that we're going to put load or tension on these heim joints. So we can do this by hand. We're just going to tighten it until it's snug. All right, so now we don't have any sort of silly play happening. Once we get to a snug position, what we're going to do is I'm going to take a little white pen marker, and I'm going to mark our 360-degree point, and we're going to put a full rotation of preload on the CalTrak bar, and we're going to do both sides. That is going to give us a really nice baseline of tension. Okay, so here we are right there. Okay, so I'm gonna mark this and then give it a full rotation. All right, that is our 360 mark. All we have to do now is tighten these back up again. And the nice thing is that if you find that it's too bouncy, that it's too tight, you can back it off. If you find that you're still getting a lot of wheel hop, you can tighten it up some more. These really do help to act like effectively a 4-link suspension, and that is going to give you a far tighter suspension feel. All right. Okay, So we have got the bottoms of our shocks just hanging here. I got to take the tops off, and we're going to show you the differences between the QA1s and the Calverts. But we've already pulled our plug, our fill plug right here. And there's our little plug. We are going to use some Lucas oil, and I've got the nice little Harbor Freight little pump. So we're gonna pump in as much as we can until it starts to dribble out, and then we'll close that up. We'll change out our shocks to the QA1s, and then we'll be buttoned up down here. We'll be good to go. So let me just pump a little bit of that in here. You don't need to see me do more of that. And we'll just check in when the shocks are out. Well, I very clearly have a leak back here because it took almost the entirety of 2 quarts. And that's no good. That makes me nervous about the health of my locker. I'm not going to pull the cover just yet, but I will say that I am not entirely confident that I have maybe injured my bearings a little bit. So we'll see if we have any rear end noise. We'll pay a little closer attention to that. All right, we have got our single adjustable Calverts out, and these are actually really great. I really do enjoy these, and they're 9-way adjustable, and they're incredibly stout, well built. They are specifically built for Calvert racing, for the Caltrac setup. These are, and I've been driving with these for probably 3 years now, and although a little bit more rigid, they've been really, really good. Hookup's been awesome. I really enjoy them. I'm not going to say they're not a good street or highway shock, because you can adjust them, you can back them down and get your compression and your rebound down. But again, it is a single adjustable. So again, it's not as precise as the QA1. And you're going to see these are beat up. I've had these for, I want to say, close to 10 years, and if not more. In fact, I think I've had these for over maybe even 11 or 12 years. And these double adjustables, I mean, you can even see some surface rust. I ran these for years, and they were great. It's only when I went to the Caltrac setup that I went with Calvert shocks, and I wanted to experience the Calvert racing Caltrac setup the way it was designed to be. So now that I'm going on Power Tour, I'm going to get the QA1s on here, because as you can see, I can actually adjust my compression and my rebound individually. And what that means is I can go to QA1's website and I can kind of dial in exactly what I'm looking for. And I'm really just looking for a very comfortable, smooth ride as I'm driving over 1,000 miles in the Charger. I'm not going to be drag racing. I'm not competing with anyone. So the idea is to just have something very enjoyable and not such a harsh, vibrating, hard ride. And that's what you get when you have a really tight setup for a rear end. So we're going to go with the QA1s. I'm going to smear a little bit of grease here in the sleeves, just so that I don't get any gnarly squeaking. And we'll slide these guys in, and I'll show you a little bit of the process, although everyone's put shocks in, but you know, I'll show you anyway. I'm going to hang on to the Calverts. These guys are going to get cleaned up and put in the used parts box with all the other suspension stuff I've got, because I know I'm going to end up using these guys again, because again, they were really, really good. But for what we're trying to do today, we are definitely going to go with QA1. I got QA1s in the front, and the QA1s in the front have been absolutely phenomenal. And again, the only reason I pulled these out was when I did the Caltrac swap. So let's put these guys back in and see how they go. Oh, that's much better. That's much better. Whew. Skinny little guys. Oh my goodness. They are skinny little guys. Okay. Time to get into position. Of course, I've got grease everywhere I don't want it to be. Ooh. There we are. There goes the phone. Never fails. As soon as I get underneath the car, everyone wants to talk to me. Hey, Kevin. What are you doing, buddy? What do you got going on, Kevin? Hey. Electric socket. That's what Kevin wants for Christmas. Can Kevin get an electric socket? Ow. Well, the tediousness of this enterprise has gotten the best of me. So, I'm bringing out the pneumatic tools to end my suffering, or to exacerbate. Pneumatic tools. There we are. Oh, it's a Christmas miracle. Hallelujah. All right, wrench. Come on, wrench. Come on out. There she goes. All right. Okay. One down, one to go. Was that so hard? I mean, come on. Was that so hard? All right. Here we go. Here we go, boys and girls. Ooh. All right. Let's get some grease. Let's get some grease. Ooh. Oh, yeah. I know. You guys are thinking I'm crazy. But I've already got some oxidation in the sleeve because these things are 12 years old. And frankly, I just don't want any sort of squeaking. I mean, it's gonna squeak no matter what you do. Don't get me wrong, I'm not crazy. But if I can somehow mitigate, I think that would be a valiant effort, a worthwhile college try. Okay, let's put it on this side. What the hell? It doesn't matter. I feel like Bob Ross. Doesn't matter. These happy little trees, wherever. Okay, cool. Gravy. So, what do you say? Put a deep well on the pneumatic, and I'll put the boxed end on the back. Ooh, look at that. Oh, groovy. All right. Again, grease is there for your protection. Oh, tight quarters. All right. They said compression for a nice casual ride. They want compression at 8 and rebound at 8 and then adjust accordingly. Some results may vary. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. QA1. Looking pretty. All right, so the instructions from Silver Sport were that after we accrue between, frankly, 200 to 500 miles, we needed to change out the gear oil that was in the transmission. Believe it or not, what they used was plain Jane ATF. So we're gonna pop this open and we're gonna let all that, quite frankly, pretty fresh ATF out, and we're gonna fill it up with the Valvoline Synchro Mesh. All right, here we go. Whew. My goodness, that was tight. Okay. Can I do this one-handed without making a total mess of everything? That seems to be the question. Okay, well, I guess I can. This stuff, this is not burned. This is so very fresh. That's funny. I feel like this is premature, but having seen what's happened to other Tremix that weren't serviced, I'm a little gun shy. Oh. Hey. What is happening here? It's really gurgling. There we are. Sheesh. Alright, that's enough. I'll tighten you down. Oh boy, yep. A little bit left. Dribbling off the end. Well, I stupidly put almost a whole quart into the transmission without recording it. So here's the second quart. Let's see if I can't do this without spilling like the first one. Actually, it was pretty successful. All right, here's the third quart of Synchro Mesh, but I know we got plenty left in the second quart bottle. All right, well, Tremix official manual says 2.6 quarts, and we are definitely at 2.6 quarts. In fact, we might have exceeded that. We might be at like 2.7 or 2.8. So that means to me that I'm going to put our fill plug back in. And once this is tight, we can put the car back on the ground. Okay, that's pretty dang snug, my friend. Okay, let's dab up all of our spilled ATF that just came bubbling out. We will pick the car up, get it off the jack stands, and put it on the ground. All right, now I understand why they wanted me to change it. We've got, sure didn't look like it before, we certainly got some bass boat metal flake. I mean, it's not so bad. It actually kind of looks like Ghostbusters. But that is us breaking in the transmission So now I feel better about changing the fluid. That synchro mesh is going to do us really good. And I'll be curious to see what... I might actually check the fluid again after power tour just to see, just for curiosity's sake. But I'm glad I made that change. I really thought I was jumping the gun, but now that makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm happy I changed that. As most of you guys can tell, I like big tire underneath a B-body, and the Charger certainly needs as much as humanly possible. So we are fitting a 295 6515. It's an ET Street SS from Mickey Thompson, and I've already put probably about 200 miles on these tires. I put them on just a little over a week ago, and haven't done any big burnouts on them. I know. I can't believe I'm even saying it, but done a lot of driving, gone up to see some friends, and done a little bit of hot driving. We did get them aired up when the guys at Tire Discounters mounted these. I think they aired them up to like 36 pounds. Way too high. I got a really nice Autometer tire pressure gauge. It's probably my most correct tire pressure gauge. And we are right now, it says 26. Yeah, then it starts to air down again. Let me check that. Yeah, we want to be at 25. That's a good street driving pressure. Obviously, it's way too high for drag racing, but 25 really takes the harshness out of it. Yeah, here we are. We're at 25 now. All right, got to torque all of the lug nuts down. I'm going to torque them to 70. And I get to finally try out my AC Delco torque wrench, which I'm excited about. All right, here we go. All right. All right. The fronts are 13/16, the rears are 15/16. I've already double checked these. All right. Not the same satisfying click that you get from a mechanical torque wrench, but a lot more precise. I had wanted to top off our coolant. I had bought a couple gallons of extra Evans waterless coolant, but our water level, or coolant level I should say, has not changed at all since we last did this. So I literally do not need to change it. I drove the car around. It got up to about 200, maybe 202 yesterday. But I'm going to tell you, it never overflowed. It never barfed out. I didn't have any pressure. It did not give me any grief. So I'm just going to keep it as is. Let me turn that around so it looks good. You know, that's the biggest thing about going with the Evans, is it doesn't pressurize any of your hoses. So it's not going to pressurize and piss out of your thermostat housing. It's not going to blow your hoses off. As long as your hose clamps are good and the worm gears haven't stripped out, you're going to be good. I got to say, that's been the biggest benefit. It has been with this, it does not pressurize because it doesn't boil until like 330 degrees. And your engine's never going to get there. So it's great. I'm just tickled with it. I think a lot of people are on the fence about Evans coolant, and I mean, I know I was. honestly, I know I was. But this is fantastic. So, yeah, I'm going to leave the coolant alone. I'm going to move on to the rest of the list. All right, here is our Power Tour prep. It says coolant change, didn't need to do that. Our coolant looked great. Oil change, took care of that. Gapping plugs, plug gapping, haven't done that yet. Well, actually, technically I have, but we haven't gone through the plugs. Well, technically I have done that, but we're going to cross that off when we do the plug wires. Torque lug nuts, we can cross that off. Air up Mickeys, actually I aired them down. Adjust the Caltracs, we did that. Top off the gear oil, actually it took 2 quarts and pretty much did a gear oil change. We added the synchro mesh, we changed out the synchro mesh and the TKX. And then we swapped out the QA1 rear shocks, so that's good. Basically all that's left is changing out the plugs and changing our plug wires. And what I didn't write down is that when we have the plugs all out, I'm going to pull the valve covers and we're going to relash the valves. I'm going to back them all off, and then I'm going to go around and relash the valves just so that our valve lash is on point. Okay. All right. Got the driver's side harness out. Got 3 out of 4 out. That's the hardest thing about these Edelbrock heads, besides it's great that they have canted spark plugs, but boy, the threads are long. Holy cow. It's like changing the spark plugs on a jet ski. These things are a mile long. And I hate to say it, but the other side is even worse. All right. Let's take a look at these. Here's number 7. Pretty clean, just got a lot of carbon. But our porcelain really isn't too bad. I mean, these aren't bad, these aren't fouled. Here's number 3. Got some oil on it. Got a lot of oil on it, on the threads, but we don't have them here on the terminal. It's just carboned up. I think we're just super duper rich. Number 1, we're getting a little bit of discoloring. Interesting. Let's check the gaps on them. 42 on 8. Number 4. 43. Number 2. Ooh, 42 is at 44. Okay, so 45 is going to be our new setting. That's a given. But the nice thing is, besides a lot of carbon, we are able to really able to have a really clean reading. Yeah, we got a lot of oil on the threads, but we don't have, what that means is the oil is getting pushed up the threads, but we're burning it off because our porcelain looks really good. So, all right, not the end of the world, but we can do better. Let's get these valve covers off.
Okay, so here it is in a nutshell. There's no shortage of guys online saying that there's some quick and easy way to lash your hydraulic valves in less than 10 or 15 minutes. And while, yeah, many of these methods will technically work, in reality they're going to leave a lot of performance on the table. What we found was the best way is the right way, and the right way is the companion lifter method. This is the same method that Chrysler engineers taught the factory engine builders, the same method that corporate trained its technicians with, and the same way you'll see professional engine builders and performance aftermarket builders tell you how to do it. I will say that it will be 100 times easier to turn the engine over if the spark plugs are out, otherwise you're going to need a breaker bar. The companion cylinder method is super easy to follow. First, crank the engine over until the number 1 rockers begin to transition, or what they call rock. Watch as the intake valve closes, the exhaust begins to open. When you see that transition begin, stop turning the engine over and go lash the opposite cylinder, which in this instance would be cylinder number 6. First, tighten the adjuster on the rocker until the pushrod can't spin freely. That's called zero lash. Then give the adjuster a 180-degree turn. That's preloading the lifter. Now tighten down the jam nut. And that's it. The cylinder is lashed. To keep track of your progress, make yourself a little chart like this, numbering the firing order across the paper. Then break it up into 2 and write the opposite order beneath it like this. This gives you a very easy to follow way to know which cylinder you're watching and which you need to tighten down. I personally like to double check my work and go through the sequence a second time. But if you followed these steps, you'll find that you did it right, and you won't need to do it again.
When it comes to plug wires, a lot of people just kind of think, they're all the same, they're all made by the same guys, and there's nothing much to separate one from another. That is really not the reality. Now, we had been running these Taylors, boy, I want to say probably 6 years, 7 years, and these have been pretty good. I didn't have any big complaints about them. I think my biggest concern, as you can see here with the DEI heat shroud, and we had the Excel porcelain boots, which all of this was to really stay on top of heat mitigation. I really didn't want the heat of the headers interfering with our ignition system. That was really my biggest concern. So with these, I didn't really pay attention to a lot of, say, core material. I didn't pay attention even to diameter. But what we did have to learn is, first, you'll see I have some Taylors, I have some Excels. These were all 8mm. So we went up to an 8.5mm. That meant a lot less resistance. And resistance, of course, means a colder spark. And we didn't want any part of that. So we had been talking with the guys at SQR Performance for a while. And they're a part of Flexolite. You guys might obviously know the Flexolite name, but you probably don't know SQR Performance. Believe it or not, this is a pretty serviceable name that's been around for a while, and they offer factory and slightly better than factory replacement parts for a lot of things. But when they jumped into doing ignition systems, I'll put this box over here, they kind of went for the fences. And trust me, I got an earful from their team about how great their stuff is. But what really knocked my socks off was a lot of the they had all sorts of data on the performance of their plug wires, and that they were cleaning up ignition. They were experiencing horsepower gains. They were cleaning up the ignition curve. There was just a lot of benefits when it came to running these plug wires. So I thought I'd give them a shot. I really was interested. And part of each of these kits besides giving you just everything you could possibly imagine, was that they made these really cool, they're 3D printed tools that when you put your plug wire in, there's going to be some instructions on how to do it. But these things actually do the crimping for you. And we're going to show you how it's done in just a second. But holy cow, it's super cool. And it does a really nice natural crimp. And it does all the work for you. It's really trick. So I really got to give it up to SQR. But the one thing I'm just really interested in is just the performance of the plug wire itself. I've been making some progress on our SQR performance plug wires, and they've got a really trick setup. What we're going to do is, we've already trimmed, this is our number 3 plug wire, but we are going to take one of these conductors and we're going to supplement our core wire. So what you do, go in here and you shove it in there about halfway. Now we can fold it over on top of our core wire, or we can fold it over on the other side. I'm going to fold it on top because I kind of want to hold it down. Puts a little bit of added pressure on there. And then you take our terminal, give it a little squeeze. Here's our sharp dog. Just to keep it in place. Then we're going to take the first half of their tool. Do you want to use it on a vise? Take the first half of the tool. You're going to come in here. All right, so give it a little squeeze. Bring it right to the end. All right, so here we are. So then, make sure our 2 tabs are on the same side. Okay. Put it in the vise. And it's going to do all the work for us. And it will bottom out, so you don't have to guess on how far you need to crimp it. See, it bottoms out right there. Actually, the back kind of teeter-totters, but that's okay. So now we split it. See a nice crimp. Everything's being held in place. Looks absolutely beautiful. Super tight. So then, take a little bit of our grease. Just dab it on the end. Take our boot, and it absolutely slides in with no grief, and you can see how nicely it came together. So let's put this on and finish up. I think we got 2 more plug wires after this one. Here's number 7. So let's rattle them off. 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, and 2. So let's go over our list. We've got fresh oil in the engine. We have fresh oil in the transmission. We have fresh oil in the differential. And Lucas in the differential, Valvoline Synchromesh in the TKX 5-speed, and we have Valvoline VR1 2050 in the 535 stroker engine. We've got new NGK-R spark plugs, gap to 45. It's a little bit wider than we've been running regularly. We have the new SQR Performance 8.5-inch plug wires instead of the previous 8. So we should have a really good spark, really strong ignition. I don't think we're certainly not going to have any EMF, any sort of EMF noise or EMF interference there, so that's good. Our coolant looked beautiful, so we're good there. Our front runners have been rebalanced and mounted. All of the lug nuts have been torqued to 70 pound-feet, and we've got reasonably new. We had them on a couple weeks ago. Brand new 295 65 15 ET Street SS Mickey Thompsons. We've got, the CalTrak bars. We readjusted all the CalTrak bars, and we did put our QA1 shocks on the back too. Those have been adjusted to 8 and 8. That is for 8 on compression and 8 on rebound. We'll adjust accordingly. Thankfully, QA1 makes it really easy. And yep, and all the fluids. I say we open up the garage door and we fire up the car and let that new oil break in. And we'll see how it likes the new spark plugs and plug wires. And then we can worry about making the plug wires loomed and looking pretty. I just want to make sure it runs and it's happy. So we're just going to bring it up to temperature now. Check all of our fluids. So right now we're not getting any knocks. Get really nice behavior out of it. And it's looking really good. We're gonna check our oil pressure, make sure everything looks good. right, guys. Well, that's going to conclude this episode. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of what we're doing in preparation for the 2024 Hot Rod Power Tour with our 69 Dodge Charger. Went through, changed the oil, changed the fluid and the transmission from the standard ATF to Synchromesh Valvoline, and we also put 2 quarts of Lucas oil in the Dana 60. Updated the spark plugs to a hotter gap with hotter plugs from SQR, and we're really excited for those. The car fires up, it idles so much smoother. We just know we're getting a nice clean ignition. The plugs that we've checked thus far, we haven't put a lot of miles on. We'll do a follow-up probably while on Power Tour, show you guys how clean the plugs are running now that we're getting a really nice, clean, low resistance spark going through the plug wires. So that's good news. And of course, the big thing that we did is that we went and did a full valve lash job. And there's a lot of guys online who say, hey, you can do this in 25 minutes. Just go through and snug them up all the way until you get no resistance and then give it half a turn. Unfortunately, that pathway is one of those miracle drugs. It's one of those diet pills that promises a lot and doesn't deliver. And in fact, can deliver some negative results. The way that we did it was the old school companion firing order way, where you run them 1843, 6572, and then you just do the opposite. So as number 1, the intake and exhaust begin to rock, that's when you lash number 6 and all the way down the line. So again, this might not be what you think is the fastest way. If you got a buddy, you can knock it out in about 50 minutes. That's what we did with Jim. Obviously, double check your work. A lot of guys are going to promise you other ways. We frankly have found that the best way is the long way. So you might disagree, that's fine. I'd love to hear your suggestions. If you guys have a way that you were taught, again, there's 6 ways to Sunday to lash hydraulic valves, but we found the best result, the most scientific result has been the companion lash method. And that's what Chrysler taught all of its engineers. It's what Chrysler taught all of its technicians. It's, quite frankly, a lot of engine builders' methods. So that's how we're going to go and do it that way. So anyways, guys, really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, why don't you give it a like, maybe leave a comment, share it with your friends. Definitely, that would definitely help us grow the channel. And if you haven't already, why don't you hit the subscribe button? We see that like almost 70% of you guys who watch our videos don't hit the subscribe button. The content we make is free to you. So if you enjoy what we do and you don't want to miss anything else, why don't you hit that subscribe button? We'd really appreciate it. Until then, if you want more awesome Mopar content, why don't you join us over at www.Mopar Connection Magazine, where new articles are written every single day, Monday through Friday, entirely subscription free to you. There's no passwords, there's no downloads, you don't need to sign in anything. You can just read the articles then and there. And with that, we'll see you there at the magazine, guys. Have a good day.